Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Toast, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And it's finally that week. We've been talking about it all year long, but now we're going to get a chance to experience the Xbox Series and PlayStation 5 ourselves, so I hope everybody enjoys their new platforms. With that said, we do have a lot to talk about today, including more Xbox Game Pass games for the month of November, and more Xbox acquisitions. In specific, they're targeting a Japanese studio, so we're going to go over all of that here in just a bit and what all that means. Also, PlayStation revealed their upcoming first-party exclusive lineup, and it's looking pretty good, so stay tuned for that as well. First though, let's go over some of the other news, starting off with a new game release, Sam & Max. Yes, Sam & Max Save the World is returning with a remaster, and it's releasing rather soon. You're only going to have to wait a few weeks for this one, as it releases on the PC and the Nintendo Switch on December 2nd. Unfortunately, we haven't heard anything about other platforms just yet, but this is an interesting title to bring back. If you don't know what Sam & Max is, this is an old Telltale's game that released back in 2006, and really a lot of people believe this is one of the funniest games ever made. It does have a very good sense of humor, but this is actually being developed by Skunk Ape Games, which has some of the original Sam & Max developers. So that's pretty cool, and based off what we've seen so far, it looks much better visually. Now, unfortunately, this is just Season 1 so far, and they haven't flat out said that they will do a remaster of 2 and 3 just yet, but I am under the assumption that will indeed happen. If you do go to their website, it has Season 2 and 3 tabs shaded out on there, so I believe they will end up releasing those seasons as well. So whether you played the old games or not, this might be a fun game to check out next month on December 2nd. Now that's not the only games getting a new remaster, as N7 Day happened over the weekend, and it seems those Mass Effect remaster rumors were true all along. We've talked about the Mass Effect trilogy getting a remaster for months and months, but now it's officially been confirmed. They will be releasing Mass Effect Legendary Edition in spring of 2021. Really, the question now is, what kind of remaster will we see? Well, that still remains to be seen. They did say that their goal was not to remake or reimagine Mass Effect, but rather to modernize the experience. They referenced super sharp resolution, higher frame rates, and visual enhancements, so it doesn't necessarily sound like a remake per se. This is probably more in line with a simple remaster, though I want to hear a bit more about this before I say too much. These visual enhancements may be better than what I currently realize. Though I will say this, Mass Effect is one of the best trilogies of all time, and I'm really happy to see it come back. The big announcement, however, was that they're working on a brand new Mass Effect as well. Yeah, a new Mass Effect is in development, and it's being worked on by a veteran team. Now with that said, it still sounds like it's a ways off as it's in its early stages of development, but even then, having Mass Effect return is huge news. Again, this is one of the best trilogies ever made, so a new release is very exciting. Just hopefully they learn some of their lessons with Andromeda. That game had quite a few issues at launch, and really BioWare has been having issues as a whole. Anthem was another game that didn't exactly meet expectations, and that's very unfortunate because I think at one point in time, BioWare was among the best developers in the entire industry. I would really like to see them get back to that form, and maybe with Dragon Age 4 and a new Mass Effect title, we can get back to some more great BioWare games. Let me know though, what would you like to see out of a new Mass Effect game? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on, we got an impressive update over the weekend for the Xbox Series S. So there's been some mixed reactions regarding the power of the Xbox Series S. Of course, this is a budget console, which sacrifices power to be a more affordable entry into next generation. The most noticeable sacrifice so far has been resolution, and it really seems to be geared towards 1080p TVs. In some cases, it may have higher resolution or even lower, as we've seen already. What about ray tracing though? That's one of those next generation features that's going to be heavily discussed over the next 12 months, as it looks absolutely incredible, but it's also very demanding, and it does eat into the performance. So is the Xbox Series S actually powerful enough to handle this feature as it's been advertised? Well, early indications say yes, because Watch Dogs Legion got a nice little ray tracing update, and it looks very impressive. I'm sure it's not going to be quite as good as the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 version, but from what we've seen so far, it looks really good. You can see how pretty the reflections look bouncing off the rain-stricken road, and I have to say, I'm impressed. This is a $300 console, and it's capable of ray tracing. You really have to hand it to Microsoft. They did a good job here, and I'll just continue to say what I've been saying all along. The Xbox Series S is a viable machine. Yes, it did make some sacrifices in terms of power, and that will be very noticeable as the generation goes on, but I think a lot of people will be more than happy with this console thanks to its great performance in terms of frame rate, and on occasions, get things like ray tracing. So kudos to the Xbox Series S. Xbox had a busy weekend though. First off, today they revealed more Xbox Game Pass games for the month of November, and yeah, it just never seems to end for Xbox Game Pass. They just continuously add new games, and this one looks like another really good update. So let's check this out. Goner 2, Ark Explorers Edition, River City Girls, Gears Tactics, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, Planet Coaster, Star Renegade, EA Play, Tetris Effect, Final Fantasy VIII, Streets of Rogue, and Halo 4 will all be coming to Xbox Game Pass this month. Now, some of these games are really good, such as River City Girls, Gears Tactics, Tetris Effect, and Final Fantasy VIII. Those are great games. River City Girls in specific really stands out to me. This is one of the better beat-em-up style games available right now. It ranks right up there with some of the best like Streets of Rage 4, Battletoads, and Castle Crashers. It really is that good though. It's got a very wacky story to say the least. I do highly recommend you play that game, however, especially if you like beat-em-up style games. Then you have Tetris Effect, and that's probably the best that series has ever been, and then Final Fantasy VIII. That's a classic for a very good reason. I know it's a little polarizing among the Final Fantasy community, but to me, it's one of my favorites. The gameplay mechanics is a little different than some of the other installments, but I love the story. I know the protagonist is a little odd or kind of like a jerk really, but I still liked it. The big one though is Gears Tactics, and I did play this one on PC earlier this year, and I can assure you that is a very good game. Gears fits perfectly with tactical turn-based combat, so now that it's coming to Xbox, you Xbox fans should really enjoy that one. They also revealed that some of the EA Play games will be going to xCloud, where you can stream those from the Xbox Game Pass app on your Android devices. I don't really think that's completely sunk in just yet, but EA Play combined with Xbox Game Pass really is amazing, and we're going to get a lot of big games through that service. I mean, we're already seeing games like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order come to Xbox Game Pass on November 10th, so I mean, that is just an incredible addition to Xbox Game Pass. It honestly can't be said enough, but Xbox Game Pass really is the best deal in gaming by far, and November looks like another great month for the service. One thing the Xbox Game Pass has done though is that it's encouraged Microsoft to invest more heavily into their Xbox game studios. They have acquired a number of studios over the last few years, plus they've been hiring a ton of new talent for all of these studios. Microsoft really has went all in on Xbox as they pick up new talent across the industry, and that's never been more apparent since they acquired ZeniMax back in September. That was an industry-changing acquisition, but it doesn't look like they're slowing down at all. New reports are coming out now thanks to Bloomberg that Xbox has been approaching several Japanese developers about acquiring their studios. Now, this is not the first time we've heard something like this, and there was a rumor earlier this year that they may have approached Platinum Games. Now, Platinum Games later on denied this, but Phil Spencer, on the other hand, has been very open about wanting to acquire a Japanese developer. To be fair, they technically have with Tango Gameworks, and that came included with the ZeniMax acquisition. They work on games like Evil Within, but I think that they're shooting for something else, and if you've been paying attention to some of their moves over the last couple years, they have been putting a big emphasis on Japanese games. Even if you look at Xbox Game Pass, they've brought in several top-tier Japanese games such as Nier Automata, Kingdom Hearts, Yakuza, and Final Fantasy. That's not the only games they've brought in either, but I do think that this is a mission for Xbox at the moment. The question though is, who can they acquire? Well, if you asked me about 3 or 4 months ago, I would have probably been a little cautious around this subject, but because Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, I really don't think anything is absolutely impossible. There has been a lot of rumors about Sega and Xbox, and Sega is rumored to be having some financial issues, so could that happen? Before, I would probably have said absolutely not, but I don't think we can rule anything out anymore because it looks like Microsoft is more than willing to buy out huge developers or even publishers. It's really hard to tell exactly what will happen here because how unpredictable Microsoft can be. All I ask is if they're going to take this seriously, maybe let's take a look into bringing back Lost Odyssey. That franchise is more than deserving of a sequel or even a remake. So if somehow Microsoft could get Mistwalker or a studio to bring back that franchise, I would be absolutely thrilled. Once again though, it looks like Xbox will be attempting to get a Japanese developer. I think that this is rather smart too. We're also getting reports that PlayStation is taking a step back from Japan and focusing more on the United States, so this could be a good opportunity for Microsoft to increase their foothold in Japan, which to this point has almost been non-existent. Let's talk about PlayStation though, because we got some new information for the PlayStation 5. Unfortunately, Sackboy: A Big Adventure's online multiplayer mode will not be ready by the time of launch, but it however will still release sometime by the end of 2020. Keep in mind that local co-op will still work though. I really don't think that this is a major problem, and honestly, I think this game is being released at a very jam-packed part of the year. I think most people at launch will be focusing on Spider-Man and Demon's Souls if they're looking to play an exclusive title. And then you have big third-party games such as Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty, so I think fans are going to be pretty busy early on, and when they get around to Sackboy, hopefully it has its online multiplayer ready to go if you do want to play that. Again, it's not a major deal, and you will have local multiplayer and solo mode right at the launch for the PlayStation 5, and of course it's also coming to the PlayStation 4. However, we did get a new PlayStation 5 advertisement in which revealed several upcoming PlayStation 5 first-party games and their release window. So we've talked about this on several occasions, but Gran Turismo 7 is in fact being planned to release in the first half of 2021. That really is a huge release, as Gran Turismo is a big franchise and this could push several PlayStation 5 units. Also, Returnal is being planned for the first half of 2021. We don't really know much about that game yet, other than it is some kind of roguelike game. I'm going to have to see more about that game, but the other one is Horizon Forbidden West, which releases in the second half of 2021. That's a really good lineup of exclusive titles for the first year, but I do find it interesting that we're missing God of War Ragnarok. That one is oddly absent from this list, but I don't think that necessarily means it's not going to be a 2021 release. It could still be fluid at the moment, but we'll probably hear a lot more about that game next year and get some more details then. With that said, PlayStation is already looking to come out strong with a solid first-party lineup. Let me know though, what PlayStation exclusives are you looking forward to the most? Luckily for me, mine is actually Demon's Souls, so I'm really pumped up for the PlayStation 5 launch. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.